Hello there, Stevos, and welcome back to another YouTube video right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. Firstly, I just want to wish you all a happy new year. Hope your new year has started off really well. The beginning of 2025 has started off really well. And now, before we move on to what's ahead in 2025, it's time for me to look back at some of the movies that I've enjoyed watching in 2024. I will admit that there is around about 121 movies that I've counted, by the way, that's on my Letterboxd watch list that I've missed out on watching in 2024. Has been quite a busy year, not gonna lie. So there is 121 movies that I haven't watched. However, though, in 2024, I have watched over 200 of the movies that have been released in 2024. So I've managed to narrow down those over 200 movies that I've watched in 2024 down to my top 20. So without further ado, guys, let's have a look and see what my top 20 movies of 2024 looks like in this video. At number 20 is In a Violent Nature. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here. I'm going to be real with you here. But there is quite a few of the list, the movies in the list, the top 20 list that I made back in July. There is another video, actually, that I did back in July this year where I spoke about my top 20 movies so far in 2024. And to be honest, this was a lot more higher up on the top 20 list, and if you go back and you revisit that video, you'll notice that in that video there's some movies in the top 20 that are no longer in the top 20, but this one just made the cut. I'm going to be honest with you, yes, it did kind of feel like I was watching somebody play a video game where they're just walking around as a serial killer in the forest or woods, but to be honest with you, I just couldn't help but leave this in my top 20, especially with the gory, violent kills as well. And given the fact that this is also going to be getting a sequel at some point soon as well, that gives me hope that we may have a new horror icon. Who knows? But In a Violent Nature, I decided to keep at number 20 in my top 20 movies of 2024. At number 19 is Longlegs. Again, much lower down on the top 20 list, but to be honest, I couldn't help but leave this one in the top 20. I mean, to be honest, Nicolas Cage's performance in this was really, really great. It did give me those Silence of the Lambs kind of vibes. You know, this was kind of like a modern day take on Silence of the Lambs, really. You know, and I absolutely loved Micah Monroe as well in her role as well as Lee Parker. And honestly, I do think that this one is definitely going to be one that I can see myself rewatching again at some point very, very soon. I'm going to admit, actually, this movie and In a Violent Nature, if anything, actually, I think a lot of these movies that I've got on my top 20 movies of 2024, I have only seen the once. I've not gone back and rewatched some of these, but I mean, to be honest, I do think that with Longlegs, though, I definitely do need to have a rewatch of that one very, very soon. At number 18 is Stop Motion. Now, of course, you know, I know what you're kind of thinking here. Is all these movies in the top 20 going to be horror or thriller? No. Okay. It's just at number 17 with Stop Motion. I mean, that movie was great, don't get me wrong, that movie was absolutely great, and I can see myself going back and rewatching this one again, just so long as I don't have nightmares after watching this one for a second time, because I felt like the first time I watched this one, I had nightmares afterwards. I mean, you know, there is some nightmare fueling scenes in this film. I do feel like it is kind of like a hidden gem horror movie that got released in 2024. Not a lot of people have spoken about this movie, and I feel as though a lot more people should give this one a go, especially if they're into horror. Definitely do check this one out, because I thought this one was absolutely great, and you know, I just couldn't help but buy and keep this movie on digital when it got released on digital, because it was just such a great hidden gem horror movie, and I think a lot of people may have missed out on this one in 2024, but I definitely would recommend giving this one a watch. At number 17 is Girls Aloud live at the O2. Now, you may notice that there is going to be a couple of concert movies in this top 20 list, to be honest with you. And this one has made the top 20 movies of 2024. To be honest, you can argue that, yes, this is a concert movie, or a concert TV show. You know, it was on TV earlier this year and stuff like that. But I'm going to put it under the top 20 movies of 2024 because I did enjoy it. Yes, it was a tribute to late band member Sarah Harding, who sadly passed away about a year or so ago. And I think it is a really nice thing that the girls did this show to kind of pay tribute, to commemorate her and the service that she gave to Girls Aloud, you know, over the last 20 odd years or so, you know. And to be honest, I felt as though this show was actually pretty decent. I did watch the extended version of the show more so than the 1 hour show that was shown on TV, although I do feel like the 2 hour extended show was actually shown on TV at a slightly later date. But nevertheless, so I did enjoy this show. You know, it was a great concert, to be honest, and they did pay tribute to Sarah Harding, which was absolutely fascinating and great. So that's why this is at number 17 on my top 20 movies of 2024. At number 16, I was so excited when this movie got announced by Netflix, and it was only announced within like a month before the movie actually got released on Netflix. That's right, I'm talking about Olivia Rodrigo, The Guts World Tour. You know, I mean, to be honest, there has been over the years a couple of like, you know, a couple of concert movies and stuff that have been released, and I feel as though as we go a little bit more higher up on this top 20 list, there may be some others as well that you guys may see me talk about in terms of concert movies. And I feel like it is a great experience. Yes, okay, you're not there in person to experience the atmosphere, to sing along with the fans in the audience and stuff, but even if you're watching this from the comfort of your own home, that then gives you the confidence to kind of be like, you know what, I know this song, I'm going to sing this one out loud, and you know what, nobody's going to hear me singing it. Maybe my next door neighbours might, if the walls are very thin, but nevertheless though, honestly, I thought this was great, and to be honest, I absolutely loved some of the camera work as well that was involved in the making of this Olivia Rodrigo Guts World Tour. I thought it was absolutely amazing. Also as well, to have Chappelle Roan come out on stage as well and sing Hot to Go with Olivia Rodrigo as well, I thought was absolutely brilliant. So that is why this concert movie has made the top 20 list at number 16. At number 15 is Monkey Man. That's right, of course, I absolutely love a little bit of action, as well as my horror, as well as my concert movies. I absolutely love a little bit of action, and I felt as though there was a lot of action to unpack in Monkey Man. Again, this is something that I've only seen the once. I saw it on the big screen in the cinema earlier in 2024, and I absolutely had an amazing time watching it. And you know what, even though it might be slightly lower down on the top 20 list than what it was back in July this year, but I just can't help but basically just go, you know what, this deserves to stay on the top 20 list of 2024. You know, I definitely do think that I am going to go back and rewatch this one again at some point in the near future. At number 14 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, to be honest, I mean, I feel as though I have kind of seen maybe one or two, I don't know, maybe just the one modern day Planet of the Apes films. You know, and I remember enjoying watching that. And obviously I know that this one, I think, is the third one in the modern day Planet of the Apes films. And I know that there is going to be a sequel to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes as well, which is great news for Planet of the Apes fans, you know. But I absolutely love exploring this world with the apes and stuff. And the CGI in this was really great. I remember going to the cinema in 2024 and watching this one with my mum as well, who absolutely loves the Planet of the Apes movies. And, you know, it was just such a blast. I absolutely enjoyed it. My mum even enjoyed watching this one as well with me when she saw it with me at the cinema back in 2024. And, you know, it is available to stream over on Disney Plus right now worldwide. So if you haven't yet checked this one out for yourself, feel free to give this one a go. I mean, I feel like I probably may go back and rewatch the modern day Planet of the Apes films at some point later on in 2025, especially giving this one another rewatch as well. I think that would be absolutely great. At number 13 is Robot Dreams. Now, Robot Dreams was an absolutely surprise animation movie for me. Like, it was a very surprising animation movie for me because I wasn't expecting it to be as good as what it turned out to be. I mean, the animation in this is absolutely gorgeous, absolutely brilliant, you know. Yes, there is no dialogue to this neither. So if you're expecting dialogue to be in this movie, there isn't any, okay? And to be honest, this kind of further proves a little bit that sometimes you don't need to have a story with dialogue. You can do a story with no dialogue or little dialogue as possible, and this movie proves it. You know, I think I remember back in 2023 we had No One Will Save You, which is available on Hulu in the US and on Disney Plus worldwide. And again, that movie again was a great story, I felt as though, and it had little to no dialogue in it neither. And, you know, when I came into 2024 and I saw Robot Dreams, it again kind of further proved to me that yes, you can make a story possible without dialogue. I absolutely love this story. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous and beautiful and really heartwarming as well. So I definitely would say, if you haven't yet checked out Robot Dreams for yourself, definitely go and check this one out for yourselves, because honestly, it is such an amazing little story. At number 12 is Late Night with the Devil. Now, to be honest, I was thinking of watching this one during the spooky season of 2024, but I never got the chance to watch it, unfortunately, or do another rewatch of it, should I say. But I remember at the beginning of 2024, when I first discovered Late Night with the Devil, I instantly fell in love with this movie. It is basically a fictionalized TV show that was broadcasted in the 70s, and, you know, obviously we've got like this demon and stuff like that. I love the fact that they kind of incorporate the TV show as the main story of the movie, and then of course they have these like ad breaks and stuff like that. But during the ad breaks, we actually, the viewers, the audience watching this film, they get basically a behind the scenes look at what goes on when the cameras aren't running on this TV show. So, you know, and you can definitely tell when it's like the behind the scenes footage, because all of that is filmed in black and white. And then of course you've got the main TV show itself, where it's basically done in the style of a 70s TV show, which again is great. I absolutely loved the story in this. I thought the acting in it was pretty decent as well. May have got a little bit silly, a little bit weird towards the end, but you know what? It was still a very decent horror movie, and I definitely would recommend people to give this a watch. It is set around the Halloween season, which is why I wanted to rewatch this again during the spooky season, but I didn't get a chance to. But I am hoping, fingers crossed, that in 2025, when I do get round to spooky season, I may be able to give this one a watch during the Halloween season of 2025. Just missing the top 10 spot for movies of 2024 is Your Monster. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not going to lie, this movie is a very decent movie. It's got Melissa Barrera in it, who a lot of people will know as Sam Carpenter from Scream 5 and Scream 6. And do you want to know something? I feel as though with Melissa Barrera, she is honestly an outstanding performer in terms of acting. And I tell you what, this movie also can prove that actress can sing as well. I mean, there is some moments in this movie where she does do a little bit of singing, and it is absolutely fantastic. This movie is available to buy and rent on digital platforms here in the UK. I'm not sure if it is available to buy yet on DVD here in the UK yet. I'm not too sure. I know that this may have got a theatrical release over in the US, and I'm not sure about box office numbers over there, but I know that a lot of people in the US were raving about this movie, and I was quite happy to give this one a watch. It's kind of funny actually, because back in July, I had the movie Lisa Frankenstein in my top 20. It was quite low down on the top 20 list, admittedly. This one is a little bit more higher up than Lisa Frankenstein is, admittedly. But I'm going to say now, if you watch this one and also watch Lisa Frankenstein, I feel as though both movies would work really well as a double feature. You know, honestly, I absolutely enjoyed this movie a lot. It is funny. It's a little bit heartwarming at the same time. There's kind of a little bit of horror elements to it, I'm not going to lie. But honestly, this movie was absolutely perfect. But unfortunately, it didn't quite make the top 10 of movies for 2024, unfortunately. But, however though, we are about to go into the top 10. So, at number 10, I'm just going to try and, there we go, that's better. At number 10, my camera went a little bit skew with them. At number 10 is Abigail. Now, Abigail, to be honest, again, I feel as though that movie has gone a bit lower down on the list. But then again, though, we have had a really strong second half of 2024, and I will get into that as we continue going down the list. But Abigail, for me, I mean, this movie, I have rewatched it quite a fair few times. I think I've rewatched it maybe twice in the cinema. I watched it the first time in the cinema on my own. I watched it the second time with somebody else as well. And that person in question also really enjoyed it. I remember them coming out of the cinema and them raving about it. And then I remember watching it with that same person again for a third time when I brought it to buy and keep on digital platforms earlier in the year. And I remember, I mean, to be honest, at that point, though, we only got halfway through, and then I got really tired because it was so late, and then we switched it off. But, you know, to be honest, I do feel as though this movie does need to be revisited again, because, honestly, I do remember this one being one of my favourite horror movies of 2024 so far. And you know what, it is still one of my favourite horror movies. I can still remember some of the scenes that happen in this movie, and I just think it was just a really, really good time. I know that in the trailer, when we first got the trailer, you know, obviously we found out that, you know, this ballerina, Abigail, is a vampire. You know, I kind of wish that they did kind of hold that or keep that to themselves until we saw it in cinemas, because then it would have gave us quite a twist. But to be honest, the story does revolve around this vampire ballerina. So honestly, I did think that this was a really, really great movie, and I definitely would check this one out again at some point very, very soon. So at number 9 is Terrifier 3. So Terrifier 3, to be honest, I mean, what can I say? It's Art the Clown, okay? Like, Art the Clown, alright, admittedly, in this one, he does take things a little bit further. He does start butchering kids. And sometimes, you know, when it comes to butchering kids in horror movies, it's not really nice, is it, really, for a horror fan to watch a iconic horror villain start butchering children? Sometimes there's a line, and you don't cross that line. You know, but nevertheless, though, Terrifier 3, it is set around the holiday season, so this is a perfect one to watch during Christmas. You know, again, this is a film that I've not actually rewatched since seeing it in the cinemas, but it is one that I can definitely say is in my top 10 though, because it was still an enjoyable story. Yes, there is going to be a Terrifier 4 at some point soon as well. Hopefully we'll get a release date for that in the next year, and hopefully the release date isn't too far away neither. But I mean, to be honest, you know, it is proven to be a very popular franchise among people, given the fact that this started off as a low budget horror movie. The budget for this movie has just increased bigger and bigger and bigger, you know, and obviously we saw that with Terrifier 2, and now we've got it with Terrifier 3. No doubt Terrifier 4 will see the budget go even higher. Maybe the gory kills will be even bigger and better as well. You know, and I just love the fact that, you know, Art the Clown has still not been caught yet, and yet we still don't know a lot about this character neither. Like, who is Art the Clown? We still don't know anything about the character, and I'm really hoping and praying that despite everything that it seemed to set up for a fourth film towards the end of the third one, I'm kind of hoping that we do get more of a backstory as to who Art the Clown is. Why is it he goes around killing people and stuff like that, you know? So that is going to be a very interesting story to see when we do get the fourth film. But however though, Terrifier 3 is at number 9 on my top 20 movies of 2024. At number 8 is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I mean, to be honest, I kind of had a feeling when I went and watched this one a couple of days ago, actually, that this was going to make the top 10 movies of 2024. And to be honest, I'm not at all surprised that it did. You know, I thought this movie was really, really good. It saw the introduction of Shadow the Hedgehog, who is voiced by Keanu Reeves. We saw the return of Dr. Robotnik, played by Jim Carrey as well, and obviously we saw Knuckles, Tails and Sonic in a new adventure as well, you know. And also as well, given the fact that not long after this movie got released in cinemas and theatres worldwide, there was also the announcement that Sonic the Hedgehog is going to be getting a fourth film, and that is going to be releasing in spring 2027. And of course, like the other two films previously, this film has set up for a fourth film as well. So I'm not really going to go into too much spoiler details as to what happens at the end of the film, because it is a more recent film that's only just come out in cinemas, and there may be some people watching this who may have are still yet to go and watch this in cinemas or theatres worldwide. But I definitely would say though, definitely do check this one out. It is great. It is set in various different places, Tokyo being one, New York being another, and also it is also set in London as well. So I love the fact that they've also gone to different locations as well to do this movie. So honestly, it feels like the budget for this may have gone a bit higher as well. But as for the hedgehogs and stuff, I love the fact that the CGI animation in this, you know, it kind of blends in really well with the real world, you know. And I just love the fact that, you know, in each movie we seem to be getting the introduction of a new character. You know, obviously Sonic, we had the introduction of Sonic. You know, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, we had the introduction of Tails and Knuckles. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, we had the introduction of Shadow. And of course Sonic 4 will get the introduction of another character, but I'm not going to say who, for spoiler reasons. But no, in all seriousness though, I did find this movie to be really good. It is going to be a movie that I'm going to be buying and keeping on digital when it does come out, especially as I've got the other two on digital as well. So yeah, honestly, this was a really great film, which is why it's placed at number 8. At number 7 is The Wild Robots. I mean, to be honest, I've only seen this movie the once. It is available to buy and rent on digital platforms. It is available to buy, I believe, on DVD as well here in the UK. But The Wild Robot is such a gorgeous animated story. I absolutely loved this movie a lot, to be quite honest with you. I got to see it on the big screen as well in the cinemas earlier this year, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought the voice casting in this was brilliant, and it was very good because you could hardly tell who was what. Like, you know, you were really surprised basically as to, you know, when it came to the credits and you found out that this famous actor was voicing this animal, you know, like, you could hardly tell that it was them voicing that character. Like, for example, I think Pedro Pascal, I remember voicing the fox in this movie, you know, and I could hardly tell that it was Pedro Pascal that was voicing the fox. You know, so, and yeah, honestly, I absolutely enjoyed this movie. This is definitely going to be one that I can see me rewatching again at some point in the near future, for sure. But it definitely does deserve to be placed in the top 10 of my top 20 movies of 2024, that's for sure. At number 6 is Strange Darling. Now, of course, this is kind of blended with a little bit of horror / thriller as well. I love the fact that, yes, okay, the timeline, the story, it can be a little bit all over the place, but it kind of, I mean, it kind of does help you out a little bit because, you know, it does kind of help you to kind of follow the story, even though the timeline is just all over the place. I thought the acting performances in this were really, really great, especially with Carl Gorner as well. You know, I feel like he's been in a couple of thrillers that I have seen in the last couple of years. I remember the other one being The Passenger, which came out back in 2023. And that was absolutely, I mean, he was great in that movie. And I had a feeling when I first watched the trailer for Strange Darling that he was going to be absolutely brilliant in this movie. And it turns out that he is, you know. Obviously, unfortunately, I weren't able to watch this one on the big screen because this one only got a very limited theatrical release here in the UK. But I remember when a lot of people in the US watched this in their local theatres, they were raving about this one on social media, and I couldn't wait to give this one a watch. So when it did come out on digital platforms, I did give this one a watch myself, and I really did enjoy it, and that is why it is in my top 10 of my top 20 movies of 2024. Definitely worth checking out if you have not yet seen this one for yourself, but honestly, this one for me was an absolute blast. So we are in the top 5 of my top 20 movies of 2024, and at number 5 is Better Man. Now, this one is kind of surprising a little bit because I kind of would have expected this one to overtake the movie that's at number 1, but it didn't. I'll tell you why now. Now, this movie was directed by The Greatest Showman director Michael Gracey. And honestly, I remember watching The Greatest Showman a couple of years ago. Never seen it when it first came out in cinemas, I believe back in 2017. And I remember enjoying watching The Greatest Showman. And that is why, when I found out that Michael Gracey, The Greatest Showman director, was directing Better Man, I had really high hopes that this movie was going to be great. Now, don't get me wrong. This movie is brilliant, okay? It is absolutely phenomenal. It is telling the story of the former Take That boy band member Robbie Williams' life from the moment he's 8 years old to the moment when he found out he was joining Take That when he was 15 years old, and he just finished his GCSEs and he failed at his GCSEs in school and he thought his life was over. You know, his life wasn't over, it was only just beginning because he was rising to fame in the boy band Take That, which were really big in the early 90s and going forward. And you know, obviously from that, he left the boy band after a few years. You know, he decided he wanted to make it his own. He wanted to go solo. And, you know, and obviously there's also this journey of him wanting to have an audience at Nebworth as well, which he managed to do back in, I think it was 2003 was when he managed to achieve that goal of going to Nebworth. And, you know, he had a huge amount of audience members there at Nebworth in 2003 as well. But at that point in his life, though, he wasn't in a really, really great place mentally, and he's even now coming out and admitting that when he did Nebworth, he wasn't there mentally at all. You know, so, and this story does tell the highs, the lows of Robbie Williams as a musician, his personality, how he treated people when he was rising to that high fame, you know, and the fact that, yes, he did have an addiction to drugs, yes, he did have an addiction to alcohol as well, you know, and some may even say that, yes, he even had an addiction to sex as well, you know, and obviously he has now come out as the title suggests, a better man. You know, he has now got a family, he has now got a wife, you know, he has managed to kind of look at himself in the mirror and kind of go to rehab and, you know, spend that time in rehab focusing on himself, focusing on his mental health and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm really, really glad that he is still around today to tell the story of his life. You know, a lot of music biopics that we have seen in recent years, they have been of musicians that are no longer with us. And when I say that, I'm talking about like Freddie Mercury, Amy Winehouse, Whitney Houston as well. All of those musicians have sadly passed away. But whereas people like Robbie Williams, for example, you know, or Elton John, that's another one as well, they're still here today to be able to tell their story. And also what works with this movie is the fact that Robbie Williams also helped to tell this story as well. He does narrate this story. You know, I did think that the acting in this was rather decent, but honestly, I do feel as though the timeline, however, was a little bit all over the place. Like, you know, we had Rock DJ being sung whilst Robbie Williams was still in the boy band Take That, and I kind of felt like just some of the bits and pieces within the timeline was a bit all over the place, which is unfortunate. But, you know, other than that though, I can't fault this movie for being really, really good, because believe me, it was really, really good. I do remember that I have given this movie 4.5 stars over on Letterboxd, and I will be talking about this movie a little bit more in my next episode of the movie wrap-up, which will be coming up on Sunday the 5th of January 2025 at around about 4 PM UK time right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial, and the same goes for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 as well. So we're at number 4. Now, number 4 was actually at number 1, believe it or not, at the in July, when I did my top 20 movies of 2024 so far. And I'm talking about Deadpool and Wolverine here. You know, I have rewatched this movie on the big screen. I haven't yet rewatched this movie at home, but I do remember I did enjoy this movie. I know that a lot of people have rewatched this movie after seeing it for the first time. Some people have come up to me and gone, I really enjoyed this movie after their first watch, and then they've gone back and rewatched it again, and they've gone, I don't really feel the same way about this movie the second time than I did the first time. And, you know, they feel as though this movie can be quite silly and it's not taken seriously and stuff like that. But for me, though, I still did enjoy watching Deadpool and Wolverine the 2 times that I have seen this movie. You know, it is a brilliant movie. I do enjoy it, and, you know, I do feel as though, yeah, okay, it can be silly, but I just love the fact that sometimes it does take aim at Disney a little bit, especially because Deadpool has never been it's never been part of a Disney property since Disney brought the rights to Fox back in, what was it, 2019 or something like that. You know, so the fact that we've got a Deadpool and Wolverine movie within the Marvel Universe, which Disney own and stuff like that, you know, I mean, yeah, it was good. And I just love the fact that, yes, we did have a couple of cameos as well, you know, and stuff like that, and I thought that was really, really good as well. So that is why Deadpool and Wolverine is at number 4 on my top 20 movies of 2024. I did say that there was going to be a couple of concert movies in my top 20 movies of 2024, and that is why at number 3 I've decided to put An Evening with Dua Lipa in there. Now this, you could kind of argue, isn't a movie. It's just a 1 hour special kind of thing. You know, you could argue that, yes. But for me though, I absolutely enjoyed this. I'm not going to lie. I did give it 5 stars over on Letterboxd when I did review it and stuff, because I thought it was great, you know, and I love the fact that, you know, Dua Lipa, she sounds exactly the same as she does when she's recording an album and stuff like that. I haven't actually gone back and listened to, because she did actually release this as an album, because she did a performance at the Royal Albert Hall, I believe back in October in 2024. And, you know, and obviously it was turned into an album at the time when this was broadcasted on TV. And, you know, and there are some songs which didn't make the TV cut, unfortunately, and I kind of wish, to be honest, that they did actually release an extended version where we get to see visually the whole entire concert from the Royal Albert Hall on the TV, because, you know, I feel like the extended version is basically the album, you know. So I have gone back and listened to a couple of songs from the Royal Albert Hall album, you know, which some of them were played on the TV during the concert on TV. But, you know, I feel like I should, at the beginning of 2025, go and listen to the album in full, and maybe do a music wrap-up video discussing my thoughts on the album as well, because honestly, I mean, I thought it was great. You know, Dua Lipa, I mean, she was, not gonna lie, she looked very beautiful in a red gown that she was wearing, you know, during the Royal Albert Hall performance. And I love the fact that she also brought out Elton John as well, and did the song Cold Heart with him. You know, I thought it was great, honestly. And I thought the music composure as well for the songs, yes, they were reworked, yes, they were different, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. Honestly, it was still really, really good. That is why An Evening with Dua Lipa is at number 3 on my top 20 movies of 2024. At number 2 is a sequel to Smile from 2022. That's right, I'm talking about Smile 2. Now, I'm not going to lie, Naomi Scott, who played Sky Riley in this movie, I mean, I thought she was absolutely great, you know. I feel like she was one of the performers of the year, to be quite honest with you. And, you know, honestly, I feel like, even though I have only seen this movie the once, but I feel like the ending was really creepy. I'm not going to lie, like, it was really, really creepy. I do believe, from what I understand, there is going to be a Smile 3. So I don't know whether or not they're turning this movie into a trilogy and it's going to end with Smile 3, or it may carry on and we may see Smile 4, Smile 5, etc, etc. I kind of hope that's not going to be the case, really, because if this is a trilogy, then I feel like, great, it would work well as a trilogy, because I remember enjoying watching Smile back in 2022, but Smile 2 for me, I feel like, was more of the better movie out of the two, though. You know, like, honestly, the story had me gripped, it had me intrigued, it had me interested as well. And again, like I said, you know, the actress that played Sky Riley, Naomi Scott, is one of the best performers of the year in terms of acting, I feel. You know, yes, there was some creepiness to it. I feel as though there weren't as many jump scares, though, as maybe the first one. I don't think there was anyway. But also as well, what I will say is, you know, I do wonder whether Carl Gallner is going to be, because again, Carl Gallner stars in this movie as well. And I feel as though we need to have his story told. And I'm wondering whether they're going to do that with the third movie, or they're going to do a completely different story. But I feel as though we do need to see his story being told, because at the beginning of Smile 3, he was absolutely traumatised. You know, so I'm hoping they kind of tell that story a little bit for Smile 3. But however, though, Smile 2 for me, though, was a really, really great movie. And that is why it's made it at number 2 in my top 20 movies of 2024. I mean, this, I feel like, is just going to be the obvious. The Substance is at number 1 on my top 20 movies of 2024. Why, I hear you ask? Well, I mean, it's The Substance, okay? Like, do I need to say anything more other than it's The Substance? Like, really? You know, like, The Substance for me, I mean, it was my first 5-star movie that I gave 5 stars to on Letterboxd this year in 2024. But not only that, though, but I just feel as though The Substance, I mean, there was a lot of body horror in it, and I absolutely loved the body horror in this, you know. And yes, there is quite a few scenes in this where, from a woman's perspective, they can see the horror in this, you know, from a woman's perspective, they can see that. And, you know, I feel like this movie would affect a lot of women out there, you know. So, honestly, for me, I really did enjoy this movie a lot. You know, I remember watching this the first time around, and I think we got around about halfway through, and I felt as though already that this movie was going to be movie of the year for me. You know, and then we got to the end of the movie, it just, excuse my language here, but the movie towards the end just got completely batshit crazy, you know. And I just remember when I first watched this, I was absolutely gobsmacked by how batshit this movie became, you know. And even to this day, I'm still gobsmacked at how batshit this movie became, not, you know, like towards the final act. Some may argue that, yes, the final act does drag on a little bit, and I will admit, yeah, maybe it does, you know. The movie does have a running time of 2 hours and 20 minutes, so you may feel as though this movie does drag on a bit. But I mean, I've got to hand it to Dennis Quaid, to Margaret Qualley, to Demi Moore. You know, those 3 actors and actresses in this movie, honestly, I thought they did an outstanding job in their roles, you know. And I just can't give this movie enough credit. That's why I thought this deserved to be at the number 1 top spot of my top 20 movies of 2024. Honestly, I have rewatched this one probably more than twice this year. I think I've watched this one, I think once on digital and twice in the cinema as well, you know, and I just felt as though this movie deserved to be at the number 1 top spot for my top 20 movies of 2024. And there we have it, folks. That is my top 20 movies of 2024. Let me know in the comment section down below what your top 20 movies are, or top 10 movies of 2024 is. Honestly, I really cannot wait for you guys to see my reviews throughout 2025 of the movies that I have seen throughout this year as well. And of course, I will be doing a top 20 movies of 2025 so far when we get towards the end of July 2025 here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial, and then of course we'll do the top 20 movies in 2025 at the end of this year as well, okay? But guys, thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe if you are new around here to become a Stevo. I will be back again with your next YouTube video again on this YouTube channel, SteveOfficial, on Sunday the 5th of January 2025, when I'll be doing my next episode of Steve's movie wrap up. Until then though, it's goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys again in my next YouTube video.